Namaskar, Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. I hope that all of you are doing well by the grace of Krishna. Today we will talk about something we can learn from the first verse of the Bhaja Govindam. So we have all heard of Shankaracharya, who was the great Advaitic philosopher and Acharya. Once Shankaracharya was on a yatra, he was on a pilgrimage to Kashi or Banaras or Varanasi as we call it today. His disciples were also traveling with him. So as they passed by one place, they saw an old Pandit who was struggling really very hard and making all kinds of efforts to memorize some aspect of Panini's grammar rules. That Pandit was really struggling, and seeing him, Shankaracharya was moved to pity that what is this man doing? Why is he struggling so much in this old age? That too, this is the time when he should be, death is nearing and he should have been thinking of God, and instead he is just wasting his time and energy in some futile effort which is not going to guarantee him anything in his life. So, inspired by the plight of this Pandit, Shankaracharya composed what is famously known as the Bhaja Govindam stotra. So in this Bhaja Govindam, the first 12 verses were composed by Sri Shankara, and inspired by his composition, each of the 14 disciples who were with him also composed one verse, and together those 14 verses also got added into this stotra. So what is it that is said in the very first verse of this? Adi Shankara says, Bhaja Govindam, Govindaṁ bhajamūḍhamate, samprāpte sannihite kāle, nahi rakśati ḍukṛñkaraṇe. O moodha person, O foolish person, moodha means a fool, O foolish person, sing the glories of Govinda, worship Govinda, worship Govinda. When the time of your death comes, when your appointed time comes, these rules of grammar, this ḍukṛñkaraṇe, will definitely not protect you. It will not save you. So what is going to save us? Chanting the Lord's name. So from this we can learn a lot of things. Just by trying to understand what is taught in this simple verse, we can use it as a reminder for ourselves in our spiritual practice. So what can we learn from this? Let us use this verse. Let us memorize this verse, but not for the sake of having memorized one verse. Many of us like to think that we know many verses, we know shlokas, and we want to recite them. That is good, no doubt. Rather than singing film songs, it is better you recite verses, you learn and say shlokas. But more important than just reciting the shloka like a parrot, it is more important to try and adopt in our life what that shloka is telling us. So what is said in this shloka? How can we use it? So let us memorize the shloka, no doubt, and keep saying it to ourselves so that we use it to remind ourselves that we must do what the shloka is telling. So let us become alert and catch ourselves. Are we wasting time in unnecessary activity? Maybe we are not learning Panini's rules of grammar. Maybe we are doing something else. Are we spending too much time on WhatsApp? Are we spending too much time on unnecessary issues which are not going to be important to our life? Are we trying to gossip, or are we spending time in thinking about the past, worrying over the future? What is our ḍukṛñkaraṇe? Let us become alert to that and catch ourselves when we are wasting time in unnecessary activity. Secondly, as it is told in this shloka, let us begin regularly to sing bhajans, to do chanting for at least a fixed time every day. We give so much time to so many other activities in our life. Let us focus and give some time, definitely, without fail, to the chanting of the Lord's name. So let us sing this verse and remind ourselves that we must be doing what the verse is saying. When we start getting agitated or we are worried about something, we get upset over things, we talk in a wrong way. Instead, let us ask, is this really important in my life? Is it worth giving so much energy to this? Or is it just like that old Pandit who was chanting ḍukṛñkaraṇe? Am I investing my energy in something which is unnecessary? Immediately we will have the answer, and we will be able to find that our spiritual practice is getting better. Our mind is able to focus more on the Lord. So when we start doing these things, definitely it will be adopting the practice in our spiritual journey. We may know a lot of theory, but how important is that theory? It is only as important as in the sense that it lets us follow what is the important things in our life. Unless you have practical application of the theory, it is not going to work. So now that we have learned this verse, which says, Bhaja Govindam, Bhaja Govindam, let us start doing what the verse is telling us to do. I hope and pray that Lord Krishna will be able to help us to do all these things. Namaskar.